Protests are necessary to raise awareness. Hashtag campaigns can spread awareness. But to build the broad-based coalitions necessary for bold action, we have to persuade people who either currently don't agree with us or are indifferent to the issue. And right now, that's time we don't have. Yes, the process will be messy. It's hard.
It's code red for humanity. The alarm bells are deafening. Wildfires, floods, and hurricanes. Extreme climate events warn of impending doom. Is the world heading towards a climate catastrophe?
You don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert.
You have ignored us in the past and you will ignore us again. We have run out of excuses and we are running out of time.
Show us your faithfulness. Show us your trustworthiness. Show us your honesty. Prove us wrong. We desperately need you to prove us wrong. God help us all if you fail to prove us wrong. God help us.
Billion species. 7.8 billion humans. 1.9 million species extinct. One planet. Where are we heading? What should we do?
It will not be enough to preach to the choir. It will not be enough to just ramp up intensity among people who already know about climate change and already agree with us and care deeply about it.
Watch.
Two more stories. Brother Aaron sending me this one. Bees are explosively ejaculating to death during heat waves. This sounds like a real hopium-fueled article. Bees, meaning honeybees, are explosively ejaculating to death during heat waves. What is black and yellow and ejaculates until it dies during heat waves? Male bees, it turns out, and scientists, disturbed as they may be, have a solution. We have a solution for male bees ejaculating to death during heat waves. When the male bees get too hot, they convulse until they explosively ejaculate to death, and a phallus the size of their abdomen burst from their lifeless bodies. Yes, it is disgusting and upsetting, but we can fix it. We can fix it, experts say. All right, the experts are on the case to fix the ejaculating bees. One solution is to keep the beehives cool during extreme heat, perhaps by using a polystyrene cover. Yes, ejaculation doesn't land where it's supposed to land because the male bees just explode. So we're just going to wrap the beehives of the planet in styrofoam for all of this crap. Before we go, I hate to let you know, Michael Mann and all the rest of you investing in this unadulterated horseshit carbon capture. Bill Gates, Michael Mann, we got some bad news for you. Most carbon capture and reuse technology emits more CO2 than it captures. Most efforts to capture and reuse carbon dioxide in industry emit more CO2 than they capture, and they will not reduce emissions enough to comply with the Paris Agreement. Researchers from Radboud University in the Netherlands also warned that the technologies that would be sufficient are often not market ready. The concept of CO2 capture sounds promising. Capturing carbon dioxide from industrial gases, for example, and using it to produce chemicals, fuels, and other materials such as clothing, for instance. But the Radboud University researchers found that 32 out of the 40 technologies, I guess, that they looked at emitted more carbon, in the process of trying to capture it than they captured. Yes. Anyway, then they break all of this down. So I hate to rain on Michael Mann and Bill Gates's parade. I honestly don't know what Michael Mann is up to. I mean, I'm trying to figure it out. He has declared war against doomers. If you go on his website, if you question that man, if you barely say, Michael, you will be banned. He'll just kick you off. It is Michael Mann's way or the highway. I don't know if Michael Mann actually believes one word of that horse shit coming out of his fat mouth. But anyway, you better believe we will have the mainstream media lapdogs lapping it up and parroting it back, as the Washington Post and all the rest. The New York Times paved the planet to save the planet. Oh boy, but I need to get out there and enjoy this spectacularly gorgeous Saturday morning in the collapse of global industrial civilization before the February record heat wave starts cooking me, because I do not want to explosively, anyway, get out there and enjoy your own explosion while you still can.
Ukrainian authorities are forcibly keeping a large group of Indian students in Kharkiv. Ukraine was quick to deny this. Kiev said it was Russia that was holding the students hostage. I'm going to quote from the Ukrainian statement too. This is what they said. There are students from India, Pakistan, China and other countries who cannot leave because of the indiscriminate shelling and barbaric missile strikes by the Russian armed forces. Putin was perhaps the most high-profile guest for the Winter Games. He met with Chinese President Xi Jinping. A statement followed. Beijing offered its full support to Moscow. It declared the China-Russia partnership had quote-unquote no limits. The statement was loud and clear. China had blessed Russian military actions in Ukraine. That's what it meant then. But Beijing now seems to be regretting that decision.
And this is not new news, but breaking new old news. Okay, did you guys get that? Vice President Kamala Harris was mocked after she appeared unprepared to discuss the Ukraine crisis. During a Q&A with reporters at the Munich Security Conference in Germany, I mean, listen guys, we're talking about the potential for war in Europe, Harris said at one point Sunday in response to a question about how the Biden administration saw the situation's endgame playing out. I mean, let's really take a moment to understand the significance of what we're talking about. The Veep went on. It's been over 70 years, and through those 70 years, there's been peace and security. We are talking about the real possibility of war in Europe. Twitter user John Will Chambers summed up the thoughts of many by asking, did I just watch Kamala Harris claim there's been peace in Europe for 70 years? Washington Examiner reporter Jerry Dunleavy pointed out on Twitter that those 70 years of peace and security included the Yugoslavian civil wars of the 1990s, as well as Russia's attacks on Georgia and the Ukraine. Don't forget Afghanistan in there. Oh, that's not Europe. Sorry, I'll retract that. Also, Berlin Wall. They were in Afghanistan, Russia. That's what I was alluding to. Also, Berlin Wall came down 3 decades ago, so I'd quibble with 70 years, he added before emphasizing in a second tweet that it is not true. There have been no wars in Europe for 70 years, nor do I consider the Soviet occupation of Eastern Europe peace and security. Anyways, sending perpetually unprepared Kamala Harris over to attempt to quell a geopolitical crisis is such an outrageous move, which is valid. 1 million acres burn in Argentina? Holy crikey. Just when you think you're missing all the news, you're missing all the news. But I'm going to have to cover these news stories tomorrow. Thanks for the heads up, guys. A lot of talk about the false flag thing, and there's a lot of talk about, are they really invading, or is this actually happening, or this is actually happening, or, you know, there's a lot of confusion around this and what's really going on. And this, when I saw this, I was like, can you make everybody even more confused by putting out this fact check about, watch out, there could be some false footage out there of this, what's happening in Ukraine. Basically saying, don't believe your eyes. But, you know, exactly what should we not believe? I find this to be incredibly either a tell or very bizarre, right? Because when fact checkers fact check something, what they're saying is, oh no, that's totally, you know, what you should actually take away from a fact check is, oh no, that's totally real. But you know, who knows? Somebody says lots of videos and images alleging to show Russian attacks on Ukrainian towns and cities going viral on social media today. It is customary for old or false footage to go viral during a conflict, so please try to verify or check the source of your footage before sharing. But what, so, and he uses the words allege to show Russian attacks on Ukrainian towns and cities. He's saying allege. I find myself incredibly frustrated by this, as are other people feeling very frustrated about the lack of real transparency or knowledge about what is really happening. And then here's another something that I saw today that I was like, what is this, you know? So this is some footage from somebody covering Russian forces taking the Antonov airport about 15 miles outside of Kiev. But watch this and tell me whether you feel like this looks so, like, kind of staged that it's a little bit weird. I don't know. Watch this.
Tell us what you're witnessing there.
Stop. Jim, we've come out of the centre.
I mean, there's somebody just driving around, like driving a car, like boop boop boop, and it's like moving over here, moving some stuff around. You know, like, I don't know. Okay, then he goes, you can tell they're Russian because they have the things on their arm. Like, okay, you have, you know.
I can tell you now, I'm standing there in Moscow.
With the other melted down nuclear reactor. Anybody? Want to tell me why that would happen? That also seems to me just like a really weird story. And maybe I should just believe everything that I hear on the TV. Or maybe I should just believe everything. I don't know.
Now there has been a new drill that has gone off, and it's a simulation that went through a cyber event, a grid down scenario, and all sorts of different things going on. We have had so many parties from all over the world say, like they know they've seen the itinerary, like, oh, they're going to take a couple parts of Ukraine, then we are going to sanction them, and then they're going to respond with a cyber attack. This is what has been said time and time again, and they say it confidently. Like, it's not even like they may, it's like, oh no, they will hit us with a cyber attack. I've attached videos and video evidence of this on marfugelnews.com, on that Marfugel News video, which, by the way, I just want to point out that video that we just did a couple hours ago, not even, maybe about two and a half hours ago, it's upwards of 60,000 views, and what it shows the public is like 15,000 or something. So it's like it's like they're trying to siphon it down so it doesn't hit trending. I've had maybe one or two videos hit 60,000 in 2 hours. Like, that's insane. And that's how fast it's going. But again, they're showing that it's like at 15. Our real-time views in studio says that it's just skyrocketing. So I don't know what's going on there, but again, it seems like some of the opinions we have are not wanted. Now, they are saying that as a last-ditch diplomatic drive to prevent a full-scale conflict in Eastern Europe appeared to falter on Monday, New York officials sized up the possible local threats rippling from the expected Russian invasion of Ukraine. It says that Western leaders have warned that the invasion is on track to begin this week. In fact, there was an official this morning, military official of ours, that said that it will start today. Lining that up with, of course, they just closed at midnight their time, so about 4 or 5 hours ago, they closed the airspace over the Sea of Azov. And so it does line up that possibly maybe that's the last thing. They also placed a bridge between, I want to say, Belarus and Chernobyl into Ukraine. That bridge is actually held there by boats. Because it's a river, the river moves down. They actually have these amphibious boats that are actually attached to the pieces of the bridge, and they're constantly sitting there. So you'd think it wouldn't be weeks ahead if they're having these boats basically just go full tilt 24 hours a day, keeping this bridge there, unless they were planning on doing something. In the same way that, China Taiwan loading up mines outside of its island. They quickly approved that, and they said that they would start doing that. That's something you do right before an invasion. Obviously, you don't want to just put mines out in the water for cruise ships to hit unless you are really expecting a massive thing happening, which again, I still have not faltered. I believe that China and Russia are completely and utterly attached at the hip now. They have said that they have a no-limits partnership, that they will back each other up, that they'll do all of that. Now China has the largest navy in the world alongside with Russia and all of this. If they split our military and our allies, because we are the big bad boys right here, if they split our navy into two off in the South China Sea and the Mediterranean and over there, then of course we are weaker. Even with all of our allies, again, this is starting to become an actual matchup. And just want to remind people, Russia and China are not the backwoods militaries they used to be. We know this for a fact. We've had people resign saying, I don't want to be at the helm of this when it goes down. They are ahead in AI and in technology, which is absolutely terrifying. Why would we let a state that does that kind of draconian things to their people end up being bigger and stronger than us? Now, they're not bigger and stronger in all areas, so that's what we're all kind of holding out hope for. So it says that they've warned the invasion is on track to begin this week and could result in the largest conflict in Europe since WW2, a conflict all but certain to rattle markets and yank the globe back into a new cold conflict. Now, because they called it a Cold War, essentially, I do want to point out the UN chief actually made a quote recently, and he said that often I get asked if this is as bad as the last cold conflict. And he said, actually, this is much more complex, and it's actually worse than what that was. So the UN chief is actually saying it's worse. Now, I hope not to see UN involved in any of this again, but that's kind of another place where it's like all of these different world leaders and world mouthpieces are talking about this. They all are pushing for this. It seems like this has to happen. I wonder if this is supposed to fix a lot of the financials that just got spread out through all of the rich people's pockets. Think about it. Everybody did something similar to us with their stimulus and these crazy $1 trillion plans. Where do you think that money comes from? We just collapsed our whole financial system. Something has to go. We're talking about getting rid of cars and getting rid of gas-powered engines in a matter of a few years. And our entire money system, the entire world, is based on a petrodollar that's supposedly not going to be used.